three factors: attack, body, and tone. These three things have to balance. Attack is pretty much the stick sound, the clicking sound. Tone is the sound, whether it's tung tung or pong pong, tong tong, that's tone. And body is basically the thing that tells you, okay, this is a smaller inch tom, this is a floor tom, because of the size difference, right? So these three things have to be balanced. The bigger your shells are, the harder is it to tune. So I try to get my kick to feel right. Most of the time I like it to feel round. Front head usually just enough to take off the wrinkles. You can call that loose, to the point where once the wrinkles start to disappear, is the point. In other words, I like my bass drum to stick. I don't like it to bounce back. But that comes to, you need to be filling your bass drum with stuff so that it touches the front head and your batter head as well as the resonant head. Front head normally a little bit tighter. The rounder you want your sound, obviously the tighter your heads have to be, but not too tight till the point where it starts to get jazzy. So that's how you get a solid sound. So far, that makes sense? When I tune the toms, I always start with the biggest, and I understood why. So you need to start with the biggest shell so that you can get your range. Let's say tung tung tung, right? But let's say if I started with the higher shell, tung tung tung. Let's say I couldn't get the range because I started with this shell. I didn't estimate the last range, so I don't get a nice spread. So that's why you always start with your lower shell, tung tung tung, so you can get your range. There's a very strong relationship between the top and the bottom head. So let me explain. The bottom head represents your pitch. Your top head is your texture. I mean, obviously the smartest thing to do is first like zero everything, neutralize everything. So I start with the bottom head. I will tune it, I get a pitch, you know, like just like this. Get it right. So once you get the pitch right, then that's when, okay, let's go to the top head. So what I'll do is, from there, I don't tweak too much. I just go like a little bit, like fine tune the top. So I'll go starwise, and I'm just hearing. Can you hear it? It's coming. So while I'm doing this one, I'm also doing is I'm studying the drums. I'm studying the drums, how this drum works with this head in this room, and I'm seeing what's best about the drum. See, now I'm getting a nice round sound with nice sustain. Tung tung with nice decay. Can you hear it? I like to hear the sweetness of the drums. When I do that, what I do is I just put my ears near the drums and I just hear the sweetest tung. I have to get. If I don't get that, means I'm not digging it. Make sense? So I'll be like tung tung. You see where I'm going with this? Tung tung. So that's how I get my sound in general. Most of the time, I always realize when I tune my drums, if you are familiar with solfege, do, so, do, do, so, do. That's most of the time when I'm happy with my tuning, I always realize it is always in that temperament, do, so, do. So I find like do, so, do, or do, so, me, do, or do, so, mi, do is nice differentiation of the toms. You know, I don't like to be do, fa, do, ti. You know what I mean? You don't want your tom to sound so close to each other. You want that distinctive sound so that, you know, when you go around, you can hear that nice temperament. When it comes to snare, it's really subjective. I don't have any formula for snare because I find that snare are very subjective. But you know, for me, it's like, okay, if I crank it up, you know, I want a nice whack to it. For me, as long as my kick and snare is taken care of, I know that my toms pretty much should go along the lines of that. It should somewhat balance out. My snare is pretty much just cranked. I didn't consider any, I don't like properly tuning. I just cranked it up. If you have very tight sounding drums and chances are your playing is gonna be very clean, because all your strokes can be heard. But the problem is when you make a mistake, it's more obvious. In drums, that slight amount of ring that is present in the drums, it gives character to the drums, but not too much. And if you listen to good drummers, let's say like Wackel, if you're hearing, like some songs he starts off by himself, you can actually hear the temperament of the drums, you can hear the ring that comes with it. But when music comes in, it becomes music. The toms start to sing together with that, you see. So you must know your limit of how much ring to have. How much ring is to the point where it becomes artistic and doesn't take away from the actual character of the drum.